Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Well, today I want to do sort of a quick video here where I'm just going to get some first flight impressions for this brand new Eachine EX4 brushless GPS quadcopter. It has a 1080p camera, not a 4K. It says it in the box 4K, it's just for photos. But it does have a 3-axis brushless gimbal, which is a big game changer at this price point. It claims to have about 1 kilometer range, 25-minute flight time. So I just want to get it up because we've got a pretty weather moving in. It's Thanksgiving week. I'm not going to have a chance to fly after today. So I'm going to come back and I'm going to do a full review of this and go over all the all the things it can do, all the functions, the app. I'm not even going to mess with the screen recording today. It's just going to be how does it fly, and we're going to do some onboard recording of the 1080p footage to see how does the gimbal perform, and then what does the footage look like, at 1080p at 30 frames per second. So we'll include onboard footage from the SD card, and we'll just use my head cam to see how it flies. So I've already done a compass calibration. It was really easy. One thing interesting about this drone is the app connects to the controller, then the controller connects to the drone, so it's kind of like a Wi-Fi relay to your phone. So unless you're going to fly, if you want to fly by the app alone, I think you just connect to the drone with the app. But ordinary flying with the controller, you connect to the controller and not the drone's Wi-Fi, and it does use 5G, so 802.11ac Wi-Fi, so just be mindful of that. If by chance you have an older phone that does not support that, then you're not going to be able to use this drone. So let's take it up, fly it around here. It's a really nice warm day. It is a little bit windy, but it shouldn't be too big of a deal, and especially with brushless motors. We'll just see how this guy performs. I'm not going to do any range tests or anything. I just want to see how does it perform on an everyday use. Do you get good photo and video? Does the gimbal function well, or is it all erratic and all over the place, which some of these brushless gimbals on the cheaper drones can sometimes do? But I expect this one to perform pretty good. So this is my maiden flight. I've done nothing with it, so we'll take it up, and of course in a few, when the weather cooperates in the next few weeks, we'll come back and do a full review with the screen recording and all that good stuff, so you can see all the options in the app and everything. All right, so let's go ahead, and what we're going to do is I'm going to start recording video. It doesn't look like there's any, I couldn't find any options for changing the video resolution, but there is an option in here that you can I think in the instruction manual it says you're changing like the FPV transmission feed from 720 to full HD 1080p, but it doesn't appear there's any options on the video. I'm going to go ahead and we'll do a long press on the controller here and see if that starts the recording. So let's go ahead and hold in on the auto takeoff and take it up and see how it does now. Make sure we don't get any toilet bowling. Looks pretty good. I did take it up here just before this for a moment there. You guys didn't see it, but I had some toilet bowling, so I had to land it and just recalibrate the compass. Losing a little altitude there. Right. Let's just take it up here and see how it does. See how the gimbal works. Just gonna get it out here and hover it and see. Is it hold position? Well, it's moving around on me quite a bit. We've got 16 satellites. Yeah, it's kind of level on that. I just want to make sure we don't get any toilet bowling. Maybe they were still getting some satellites, but I mean, as long as it says safe to take off, it should be fine. It is windy today, but this being brushless, it should be able to handle that. You can see it is fighting it. It's doing okay. I mean, a DJI drone or something, a drone like that's going to do a better job than this. So this is the Eachine EX4 Aurora. It's also known as the JJRC X12, I think, Aurora, or the Seafly Faith. Seafly is actually who makes this. They've got quite a few drones out And you know, the Obtain was one of the first, and it was a real disaster. They've not had much luck, C-Fly, yet, but this one, from what I've seen, at least from the JJRC X12, looks to be a big improvement. We'll see how this one does, because this is pretty much, you know, the exact same drone. You can see it's moving some here, but it doesn't look like it's toilet bowling. It's just gaining a little altitude. It's got ultrasonic sensors on the bottom. It's supposed to also help along with the barometer for altitude, but it's, you know, it's not, it's leveling out now. And it could be those ultrasonic sensors trying to detect here there's a ditch and the ground's very, you know, different elevations there very quickly. But this is why I'm doing this initial flight impressions. I want to see how is this just doing some casual everyday flying right around me here. Stop it right there. It kind of does like some of the lower cost GPS drones will do, is it'll kind of fly back and it breaks and it goes back a little bit to where you let off the sticks. It's like they don't break quite quick enough, so they have to kind of back up. No, overall not too bad now, especially now that we've gotten it out and got it off the ground here. As we've gotten a better satellite lock off the ground, get the craft in the air, it's really starting to smooth itself out now. See, as we can see there, that's making a nice, that's a nice steady hold now. So maybe this is going to be a deal where you just got to get it off the ground, let it get a better GPS lock. Because on the ground, sometimes these drones don't get quite as good of a GPS lock as they do just a few feet off the ground for some reason. Let's take it up here and we'll do some, you know, it has a, you can tilt the gimbal. So let's turn it over towards me and tilt the gimbal down here. Here I am, guys. Pretty smooth tilt. It's a little bit quick. I don't know if there's an option to slow that down. There probably isn't. So you probably have to just play with that a little bit. There is, of course, some Wi-Fi lag here. You're going to see that even on the 5G. It's not, it can be a bit more than you like at times, I've noticed. So we got approaching about 5 minutes of video here since we took off. Let's just do some sportier flying. That's full speed. Let's see how that gimbal acts. Let's turn it around here. Ooh. I don't want to run into those trees. Wasn't the quickest turn by me there. Fly it overhead. Break it. You see, it takes a moment for it to stop. Now it's going to go back here and correct itself. So I let out the sticks here, it coasted up there, and it came back. Again, that's not super uncommon on the lower cost GPS. That's just that they're a little less accurate than, let's say, a Mavic Air, which is supposed to look like, is going to break almost immediately and hold its position. But I don't really have a too big of a gripe with that, because that's kind of sort of be expected at this $200 to $210 price point that this Eachine version sells for. It sells considerably less than the JJRC version. Again, this is the same drone. The one I have comes with 2 batteries. They're 3S. I think they were 2,000 milliamp. Again, we'll cover all that in the actual full review. Well, boy, it is slow to charge, because you're charging off in a cradle, which is nice, but it's USB. It's like 4.5 hours of charge from, you know, fully drained. I don't think it took that long on the first charge, because it was it came about half charged. There we go. Fly it back. overall it's doing pretty good now. I mean, it was a little bit sketchy. I would say sketchy is probably a little strong. It wasn't as stable as you'd like, and if you take it up and it tends the toilet bowl, of course, recalibrate the compass, which I had to do. I can tell that yaw is awfully slow. That is going to make it really good for filming though. But when I took it out and tried to turn it and bring it around, I had to let off there so I didn't get too close to those trees. So it's not a sport flyer, that's for sure. I know this thing does get good range though. I think Quadcopter 101 took his JJRC X12 version out a kilometer. That's what its limit is set at, and so it does do good on that, which is nice. I'm going to take it out here just a little ways. You can see that the Wi-Fi FPV here is a little bit choppy. Fly it out here. There's definitely some delay in the app. But you know what? To me, the FPV feeds on a lot of these drones are more just for guidance. You obviously need them, but they're not going to be super smooth. Let's go up over this. Ooh, I'm yawed too far there as I'm trying to with the delay. Let's go forward and look down on this cement truck. Yeah, it's a little bit now. I need to get up a little higher here, which I'm going to do to make it a little bit better for the. Yeah, it's a little bit of delay on that gimbal. There we go, a cement truck. Let's go ahead and look back up. What I'm going to do here before we end the video is I'm just going to do a return to home. Let's send it back, see how accurate it is on return to home, and of course all the smart features and stuff. I will test that once we do the full review. Let's hold it down and see. It says return to home mode here. It's going to turn around, as I can see it's doing here, and it's going to fly back, sort of correcting itself as it sees which way that it needs to head. From what I saw, the camera wasn't too bad on this. There's not a lot of fisheye or anything. There's maybe a tiny bit, and it is only 30 frames per second though. It's going to be getting really high. I think I know I had the limit set to 500 meters, but I don't know if I set the return to home height. It's not too bad here. Looks like it is up 35 meters. Obviously I don't want it going 500 meters. That's going to be well above what I'm allowed to legally fly. But you do want to make sure you turn off beginner's mode unless you're a beginner, because beginner's mode is going to really limit your distance and your height. So let's see how it does here. I'm going to make sure that and pay attention that we don't come down on top of this log. And it looks like it's going to be really accurate. We're not going to need to worry about that. Oh wow, that's good. With no, I mean, let's go ahead and cancel return to home. I think you probably hold it down. Let's see. There, and that cancels it. You do have to, I don't know why it wouldn't auto cancel, but I see that a lot in some of these cheaper GPS drones. That's really good. I'm sure you guys would agree. I mean, I've had my Evo miss the tarmac if the camera doesn't get a good photo for the precision landing. This doesn't have that. This is just using its GPS location. I don't think it's using any precision on it does have a little pinhole camera on the bottom that looks down, and the ultrasonic, of course, is to help altitude. But that's a really good job of returning to home on the GPS, especially on a windy day like today. So I'm really impressed with that. One thing with the pinhole camera, I noticed you can actually view that in the app, which I don't know why you'd want to do that on a drone like this. Just something funny I thought I'd mention in case I would happen to forget to go over that in the table review. So we got onboard footage. Hopefully that looks good. I think that 1080p at 30 is okay. You ideally would want 60, but at this price point you really can't complain too much. Overall, once we got it off the ground, I thought it flew pretty good once it kind of got a better sat lock. I was pretty happy with it. At first it was a little bit less than desirable, but as it got a better satellite lock and got going, it did a good job. There is quite a bit of Wi-Fi delay, especially as you get out of ways, but for what I've seen, it will still maintain a good FPV transmission out to 1 kilometer. Just as you get farther away, be mindful, as you get more and more interference and stuff involved, you're going to see more and more latency or lag in your FPV feed. So, you know, it's not going to be a really easy drone to film stuff from a distance because you're going to be dealing with that lag. Up close it worked pretty good, and the gimbal won't be as jerky as you see that lag in the feed coming into you. Alright guys, so that wraps up my initial flight impressions of the Eachine EX4, also known as the JJRC X12. They're both called the Aurora, or the Seafly Faith, I believe, was the original version of this. Overall, not bad. You know, it's not perfect. When you let off the stick, it is going to tend to coast and then kind of come back to the spot, which again we see, particularly in the little brushed GPS drones, we see that all the time. But overall, not too bad. We'll do a full review of this here in the upcoming weeks and get a better idea. And at that point, I'll really be able to make a decision on whether this is worth the money. But my initial impressions is if you can get this, especially with some sort of discount code, for under 200 bucks, right now it's around 200, then I would recommend this off my initial impressions. I'll include a purchase link to this to Banggood if you guys are interested in checking it out. I would say you definitely want to go for this one. You got to buy it from Banggood though, since that's their house brand, Eachine, over the JJRC or Seafly, because you're going to pay a lot more for the exact same drone. Alright guys, that wraps up this initial impressions. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments. You'll click the bell so you know when I do upload a new video, and be sure to subscribe, all that good stuff. And as always guys, have a wonderful day.
The power of the dark side.